Assalamualaikum, welcome to CEO Club Pakistan. This is Naushin Tariq. Viewers, today join us Naveed Ali Baig, Chief Executive Officer of Innovative Private Limited. Assalamualaikum, sir.
Walaikum assalam, Naushin. How are you?
I'm fine, good, alhamdulillah. Sir, welcome to CEO Club Pakistan.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
So let's start with your professional background, your corporate profile, with the challenges you faced in a nutshell, please.
I am an IBA graduate. Graduated in 1986. I started my career with the management consultancy wing of Ferguson Associates, which is now called the PwC, PricewaterhouseCoopers. Worked there for about 4 years, and then I went to Hamdard University. I set up the IT infrastructure for the university in its very initial days.
Okay.
When Hakim Saeed was, inaugurating the university and setting up, the foundation of what is happening today, as you can see it. So I contributed in the development of the IT infrastructure in the 1980s.
Okay.
Then earlier on in 1991, in fact, Innovative happened. So, and there is no looking back after that. So it's all along, it's been Innovative ever since. And it's a long journey, but it's a very, very rewarding and very interesting and thoroughly enjoyable journey that I've had with Innovative. And with regard to the corporate profile of Innovative is a technology-driven solution provider. We've been working not as a generalist, but as a specialist. So we do not provide, we are not a system integrator so that we can sell anything under the roof. No, we don't do that. So what do we do? What our forte is lies in financial technology. Okay. So fintech, if you would like to call it.
Okay.
We are a fintech. We provide hardware solutions to the financial industry in Pakistan, including ATMs and the CCDMs and recyclers and all the self-service and some of the other machinery that banks use in Pakistan today. We are one of the leading providers of those solutions in Pakistan. As well as the complementary software that comes with it.
Okay.
So this is what we do.
Okay, great. So इसी के साथ connect करूँगी अपने next question के philosophy क्या है business की आपकी mission, core values of Innovative?
The philosophy is basically to do a business in Pakistan which can actually contribute to the economy of the country and to its people. We could play our role and provide, not just employment to worthy individuals, but also a very enriching experience. So, if you see from a very high-end perspective, the beneficiaries of any business are the government, the clients whom we serve, the employees, and the shareholders of the company. Okay, these are the four sides of this, square. So we need to contribute gainfully and positively to all these four sides. By way of paying our taxes and duties. We are contributing to the government. As far as the employees are concerned, we not only provide employment to these employees, we actually develop them as worthy professionals who are able to contribute, who are able to develop themselves. There are instances where people came in as very, very basic workers in this organization, and they are now managers or senior managers and doing a lot of stuff that they could not perhaps have thought of when they joined this company. And then there are those who, after leaving the company, they have, done extremely well in some of the other organizations, especially abroad. So which, provides a great level of satisfaction to me, that we have, groomed them in this organization this way. Then there are the clients who are the greatest beneficiaries of what we do. So we are not just helping them do their business in a better way. We are, actually enabling them to make more profits, enabling them to serve their customers in a better way, and thereby achieving their objectives. So and lastly, the shareholders. So and which is very, very important actually, because without the satisfaction of the shareholders, the company is not able to survive and sustain itself. So we have been working to the full satisfaction of the shareholders of the company. So from all the four sides, whichever way you look at it, I think we've done extremely well, and all the four stakeholders of this entity are extremely happy. So this is, and the core values that we carry are, the basic things, the fundamental things that one should have in any individual or entity, which is, honesty, which is thoroughly, being professional at all times, and, playing a role in the society in a positive way. All the CSR initiatives, which I would like to also talk about later. I can explain the CSR initiatives that we take. So we contribute to the society also. So these are some of the core principles, the ethical business practices that we follow, which are the bedrock of our existence. We do not compromise on that. So we do not avoid any tax. We pay full duties and taxes. We do not cut corners in that. We deliver what we promise. We do not cut corners there. And we also contribute to the society. So I mean, these are some of the core values. That we,
Okay, sir. How many jobs your company created? As you said, one of your mission is
of course.
Creating valuable.
Absolutely, it is. So right now we have 300 people employed under this organization.
Okay.
Although we are part of a group of companies, there are 2 or 3 other companies. And if I put together all of them, so we'll be about close to 2,000 people.
Okay.
Why I mention this is that in some parts we share services between our group companies. So we have shared services between one of the other group companies as far as HR is concerned, administrative services are concerned, IT services are concerned. So we share services. So as a result, we optimize and we provide world-class solutions at a lesser cost. So by following this model.
Okay.
So this is at one point in time, the important thing, Nausheen, is that 300 people at this point in time. If I talk about from 1991 to this point, I mean, there would be thousands of people who would have benefited from innovative, worked here, and then moved on to other places. So
with a valuable experience.
Absolutely. This has been more or less a nursery.
Okay, nice. What are the key challenges and opportunities in your sector?
In our sector, as I said, we operate in the financial technology sector. Some of the challenges are common to the economic challenges of the country. Okay, we are also being impacted by it. For instance, I will give an example. Since we import the hardware from a European and an American company, Last year, there was a new condition imposed by the government that in order to open an LC for importing goods, you need to have 100% margin against these imports. What it means is that a company like ours has to pay upfront. 100% value of the import has to be paid upfront. Although the company from whom we are importing, they're giving me, a 60-day or a 90-day credit. But in order to open an LC, I have to pay the bank 100% of that value upfront, which is not an easy thing in our line of business, because the banks with whom we work, they work on a credit basis. So we import these goods, we provide them these goods. After installation, delivery and installation and commissioning, we invoice them, and after about 30 or 50 days or 60 days, we get paid. So the whole cycle comes to about as long as 180 days. But I had to pay, as an organization had to pay that cash upfront. So the cash flow challenges are really one part of it. And then obviously the second most important thing which impacted a company like ours was the currency devaluation, the massive currency devaluation that we experienced over the 12 or the 15 months. I'm not suggesting in any way that this is a bad government or the previous one was better than this. No, that's not the idea.
No.
I'm just specifically and objectively talking about these two challenges that we are facing as an organization. So these are the challenges, and obviously one other challenge, if you would ask me, and this has been going on for some time, is that we find it difficult to pick up quality graduates from our universities. It is a problem that is common. If you go to any technology company and ask even the HR heads or the CEO, what is one problem that really bugs you, is the quality of people coming out of the universities. That's a challenge.
Sir, how? Please explain it. I think
Okay.
this is very important for my viewers.
It is indeed. It is indeed. It is very, very important, and it really pains me to,
Because we have the bulk of universities, and every year's graduates are coming out, and
the quality is going down. The quality of the people coming out of those universities on a general scale is going down. There are exceptions, and there will always be exceptions, but as a rule, I find that apart from maybe 2 or 3 or 4 very, very top rated institutes in Pakistan which produce IT professionals, the others are just producing less than average individuals, and they're not able to find good jobs. They're not able to come up to our expectations. We have a process to determine the capability of even a fresh graduate. So they undergo the tests and examinations and all that stuff, including psychometric testing.
Okay.
And we have our own, benchmarks. If they attain those benchmarks, then, we consider them and we interview them. So, on average, I think if we have to fulfill one engineering spot, our team would have to interview about 100 people and then find that one individual. It's not easy. It's not easy. It's costly. But since it is very important for us, we have to do that.
so where we are lacking?
The lacking is on the part of these educational institutes, including the private ones. I'm not just blaming the government institutions. Even the private ones are not doing a good job. What they need to do is to look at their curriculum,
Okay.
look at the kind of teachers they have, look at some of the teaching methodologies they're adopting. one thing that they can do is develop a linkage with the businesses. So what we have done, especially in Lahore, we have developed a linkage with some of the universities, because we are also working in the artificial intelligence domain.
Okay.
And we found that the people coming out of the universities who claim to have knowledge about and have done courses on artificial intelligence were not delivering, or were not appropriate for our requirements. Then we developed a linkage with those institutes, and we gave them guidelines as to what exactly is needed by an organization like us, so that they could revise their curriculum according to our needs. So this is how it is.
Okay. Sir, what is leadership to you? Your definition of leadership?
Okay, this is a very, very important question, and a question that I think has so many dimensions, and it is such a basic question, but I mean it's there is no one answer to it. As far as I am concerned, there is no one answer to it. You could look at it from so many different perspectives. At one point in time, a leader will be the kindest man on earth. At another point, he ought to be the toughest person on earth. Okay? So I think the flexibility part comes into play. So the leader has to be flexible. The leader has to have an understanding beyond what is visible and what is clearly apparent. So he should be able to look beyond things, in a micro level, at a micro level, as well as at a macro level. So if he's able to look into things and get out what is of consequence to his leadership or his objectives, is what a leader will identify a good leader from a not so good leader. So the vision comes out of this. You see, if you are able to look into things, you will be able to develop a vision. Okay? At all times, a leader should have his objectives clearly in sight. The word we use in Urdu is such a beautiful word, Nasbul Ain. Nasbul Ain means in front of the eyes. Nasab means stationed in front of the eye. So Nasbul Ain should be very clear to the leader, because if he, even for a very, very small amount of time, if he loses that vision, he will go off track. So he should also be
should be very focused on their
very focused. Yes, absolutely, and not be distracted. So there are in this world, the great challenge for a leader are the distractions. You always get distracted. You always get distracted. You see, an example was here. But you should not lose focus. Never lose focus. Not even while you are sleeping. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's how important it is.
Okay. What are the 3 key challenges confronting CEOs and business leaders in Pakistan?
I don't know about 3, but there are various challenges. Yeah. So one of the greatest challenges that confronts a CEO in Pakistan is obviously the appetite for growth in this country, which is not near to its true potential. I mean, for an organization like ours, the true potential is much more. We could do much more than what we are doing. And it is really frustrating, because 10 years ago I thought that we would have about 25,000 or 30,000 ATMs in this country by 2020. Today we have only 14,500. So we are not, realizing our true potential. We are lacking behind as a nation. So that's frustrating. That's really frustrating for me.
Okay.
And secondly, the most frustrating thing for a business professional or a business executive is the lack of consistency and policies. Okay? You wake up in the morning and find out that they have changed the rules of business. And you had developed a policy, you had developed a strategy in a particular way under the impression that the framework is a given, but it changes. Things change. So they are being done very rapidly in this country. I just hope that we have some stability and consistency so that we are able to develop our strategies. Because every now and then, if you keep changing strategies and have to make adjustments to your strategies and business practices because of the external factors, it's really difficult to conduct business. And then obviously one other factor would be the one that I've already mentioned about availability of resources, people, the kind of people that we really need. Unfortunately, in a country of 220 million people, we should not have had this problem. We should not have had this problem. It is only because of the fact that our education system is not working. It's not working.
It's not up to the mark.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
Sir, leadership competencies or characteristics would you like to see in a new generation?
They should be
Apart from the Nasbulan?
yes, of course. Apart from the Nasbulan, I think they should be thinking in terms of developing themselves continuously, not thinking that they know everything. Never do that. Don't fall into that trap. Nobody knows everything.
Continue learning.
Yes. So, and I know that CEOs on average worldwide, especially in North America, they read about 40 to 50 books in a year. How many of the CEOs in Pakistan would read a similar number of books? Why are those Johnnies, doing that? Why do they do that? Do they have a need to do that? Somebody running a $10 billion company is reading 40 or 50 books in a year. Why does he have to do that? And not a person who's, perhaps a startup in Pakistan. Look at that from that perspective. We need to learn. We need to grow. In order to grow, you need to learn. You see, and develop best practices. Learn good things from whatever you're doing. It's not just about books. You also learn from your surroundings, from your experiences. So keep learning from all those things. So this is my advice to these young people who are, have started doing their own businesses, startups and stuff. They should focus on learning.
Okay. So retention of key people is one of the biggest challenge.
It is.
How do you retain your top talent in the company?
Yes, we experience that challenge, and our strategy to retain our top people is not through one strategy, is through multiple strategies. One of them is to provide them a very good environment here. Okay. In which they feel very comfortable, they feel empowered, they feel motivated, and they feel at home, working here in this company. So this is one aspect. Secondly, obviously you have to take care of their needs. You have to develop such remuneration policies which help them grow in the company, you know. And so we have a very clear-cut career path defined for each track. And so a person who has joined as a fresh trainee engineer would know that he can one day end up being the chief engineer or a principal engineer in this company after, you know, going through these steps. So this is one thing. And lastly, I think recognition. That's very important. That's very important. So annually, we in our, you know, AGM, in our annual general meeting in which all the employees participate, we give out awards not just for performance but also for being with the company. So we give out 5-year awards, 10-year awards, 15-year awards, 20-year awards,
Yes.
and 25-year awards. So we
Nice.
have people who have worked
Who worked
in this
25
all.
years.
Yes, yes, we do.
Nice.
Yes.
So is training, coaching and mentoring a priority to you, and how much time you allocate for this?
Okay, as an organization, I think it's a very, very important subject. So training and development is a business, is a department that we have in the organization, and there are 3 very, very senior people in the organization who are responsible for the training and development
Okay.
of the employees of the organization. We have a program in place, there are courses in place which are conducted very regularly,
Okay.
and all employees have to go through for soft skills as well as for, you know, technical skills.
Okay.
We continuously provide training and development opportunities inside the organization as well as outside the organization. Then there is coaching and mentoring, of course. So there is a program in place for that as well, and we encourage people to develop themselves and require the senior people to coach, you know, the junior people. And there is a mentoring process also, especially in our services division. We have, you know, what is
Okay.
called a subject matter expert mentoring
Okay.
other people.
Okay, sir. Do you believe in women empowerment?
Yes, of course, we certainly
What steps
believe.
you would like to recommend to empower the women?
Hire more women, of course. every month I receive a report from HR
Okay.
which tells me what percentage of employment has been provided to the women. Okay, every month I receive a report from the HR, and obviously we are not yet there, but we try, of course, to, you know, promote women employment. And you know, we should perhaps we should be taking more measures. But coming back to my initial you know, problem, for the want of better professionals,
Better professionals and quality.
in our sister organization in Lahore, let me just,
Okay.
you know, tell you something which will really interest you towards this point. One problem that we faced was in our sister organization called I2C. There are you know, a very, very high number of especially young females employed. So a problem which we faced, and which is very, very common everywhere in Pakistan, is that you know, girls apply as fresh graduates, and in a couple of years, when they are groomed, when they are talented, they get married. And especially after, you know, they have kids, they are not able to continue. So what we are doing is, now we have a brilliant, modern, state-of-the-art daycare center within our organization.
Nice, great.
So you're welcome to visit. It's a beautiful facility. It's on the house. No payment required from the parents.
Okay,
You know.
nice.
So there are even, you know, this is interesting. You know, there are even men who have applied for their kids to be in this daycare center, not just the, you know, the females. So
Okay,
we are
sir.
taking steps in that direction.
Where do you see your organization 5 years down the road? Initiative, strategy.
Obviously, we would like to be the #1 player in this market.
Okay.
We are close to it, but not yet there. And secondly, we would also like to expand geographically. So now that we are very in a way very strongly developed as a fintech organization providing services in the self-service banking area, we can offer the same services to maybe the Middle Eastern countries, the African countries. We are already doing that in Afghanistan.
Okay.
So Innovative is providing the same products, solutions and services to our clients in Afghanistan, and in Afghanistan we are the #1 player as far as the self-service banking is concerned.
Great.
Yes.
Okay. Sir, any achievement you are proud of?
So many of them. I mean, it's difficult to point out, but so many of them. Just last week or maybe 2 weeks ago, we received an award from our principal, Diebold Nixdorf. Innovative received an award for the strategic wins that we had in 2018 and 19. So this was an award given to Innovative out of 43 countries and 75 partners. Innovative won that award. So I was very proud. Similarly, in 2018, 17 and 18, the other partner, the other principal that we have, which is a German company called Giesecke and Devrient, this is G&D for short. We were the best partner for G&D in this region, in the Middle East region. Again, about 40 something countries.
Share with us your CSR activities.
Okay, so we have a program for CSR in our organization. It's not just, CSR for the sake of CSR. There are two objectives. One, we need to contribute to the society. Secondly, we want the employees to be part of whatever we are doing. So we have a program in place. There are teams developed within our organization in which employees identify a project and then they contribute individually, and a matching fund or a greater fund is contributed by the organization, and they achieve something like digging a well in Tharparkar, or donating an ultrasound machine to a government dispensary or something of that sort. So and amongst all the teams that are engaged in the CSR activities within the organization, the best project wins an award. So we encourage people to come up with innovative ideas of doing CSR and not just contributing individually to it, but the company will also contribute into it.
Okay. So what's the toughest decision you have ever made, and what did you learn from it? Because as a CEO and MD, of course you have a lot of things in your plate. So toughest decision is one of the...
Two things actually. Saying no is difficult, but it's very important. So at times, to a very dear customer, you have to say no. Because you have to draw a line. So this is I've at times had to say no to a customer, but I think even more than that, the toughest thing is to fire somebody, and we avoid it to the maximum extent possible. In my entire career, I've had very few people being fired for cause, and none for without cause, but even then it becomes very difficult, so I think firing somebody for me is the most difficult thing.
Okay, so who is your inspirational role model?
You mean apart from Mr. Ijaz Nisar?
Yes, you can say.
Yeah, I mean, it's important to have a role model, and somebody who you could look up to, and so there are a few people whom I've not met, but I've read about them, and I think I've liked the way They managed their companies, they led their organizations. So this is purely from the business perspective,
Okay.
not from a life perspective. So from a business perspective, I think Lee Iacocca is one of the role models, or Jack Welch.
Okay.
I think these are some of the role models that we have in the business domain.
Okay. So how do you manage your anger or stress?
Do I have to? Okay, so I think it's ingrained, more or less. It's ingrained. It's not something that you actually learn. So it's part of the training that you receive at home, or maybe in your early days. So this is something that you pick up from your parents, from your siblings, from your environment. So if you become angry at an early stage, you remain angry throughout your life. You cannot go the other way. So I was blessed to have parents that were very, very calm and peaceful, and very, very patient with a child like myself. They were very, very patient, and I think I've learned, especially from my mother, the virtues of patience. So I think it's very important. I think it's a good question, and you need to be very, very patient in order to learn and pick up some of the qualities that we discussed about leadership.
Leadership,
If
yes.
you have patience, you will be able to learn those skills.
So next question is my favorite question, and this is your definition of success.
In a very simple way, success is the achievement of your objectives, but from a philosophical or a larger perspective, sometimes you're able to achieve your objective, but you still are not happy. So something which brings satisfaction to your heart and contentment along with it is what I think is because of success.
Okay.
I think he's a very, very successful person whose heart is content and who is satisfied, no matter what his station or his position be. I think he's the most successful man. So, and obviously, there needs to be some stress, there needs to be some dissatisfaction always. You cannot always be wholly satisfied, from a philosophical point of view, because you otherwise will give up.
Yeah.
Because you would think that you've achieved whatever you wanted to achieve, you don't have to do anything. This is a God-gifted ability to have dissatisfaction within yourself, so that you keep moving.
Keep moving. Okay. So your favorite book on professional development that you would recommend?
Oh wow! I mean, there are so many books. I am a book reader. I always read books, always.
Okay.
So I think there are so many books that you could read and learn from. It's not just one book. I very recently read a book about habits. Habit. The book's name is Habit. And of course, I like Malcolm Gladwell.
Okay.
His Tipping Point and Outliers is a very great contribution to the literature. And even the classics. I mean, Stephen Covey, when the book was released, I read it in the first 3 months of its release. Nobody knew about it, but I read the book and I really liked it. And thereon it picked up and became what it is today. But obviously it's very fundamental, very basic, but it's very good, I think.
So in the last, not the least, any message of optimism to the younger, please?
You know what? There is. You could only be optimist. Although people say that a pessimist is an informed optimist. But I still think that one should be optimist. one should be an optimist. You should look up to things in a positive way, because there is no other way. During the Cold War period, when the USSR and the USA were at loggerheads with each other, there was a talk about a third world war. Every day in Washington and Moscow, people used to tremble whether a third world war would break out. So some journalist asked a wise guy about the possibility of a third world war, and he said there will be no third world war, because if there is one, I will not be there to be disproved. So you need to be positive, and you need to always remain positive about the future. Otherwise, there is only destruction. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for giving
Thank you
us a
very
look. Please.